God bless CPAC. I gotta say, Orlando is awesome. It's not as nice as Cancun. But it's nice. Bernie is wearing mittens. And AOC is telling us she was murdered. And the media desperately, desperately, desperately wants to see a Republican civil war. By the way, how many of y'all have eaten at a restaurant in the last 6 months? Can I just stop and say how strange the rules are right now? I want to understand how this virus works. So when you walk in, you got to put your mask on. Sadly, I've got two. You walk in, you got to put your mask on. You sit down, you take your mask off. See, apparently the virus is actually connected to elevation. No, remember, this is all about science. It's actually, it may not be elevation. I think it's that there are hormones that are released in your thighs when you're sitting. So you can sit at the table and there's no virus being transmitted. But if you stand up, put the mask on. Everybody can get immunized. We can have herd immunity everywhere, and we're going to wear masks for the next 300 years. And by the way, not just one mask, 2, 3, 4. You can't have too many masks. How much virtue do you want to signal? This is just dumb. In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom!
Well, Howard Dean called. He wants his career-ruining yell back. This is Ted Cruz at CPAC trying his hand at some comedy, and what better subject to open up with than a joke about his visit to Cancun? Because let's be honest, what could possibly be funnier than the US Senator from Texas watching as one of the worst crises bear down on his state, where water pipes burst and homes were destroyed and people died of hypothermia, and he opted to jump on a flight not just to Cancun, but the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. I mean, comedic gold, am I right? An 11-year-old boy died in Texas trying to keep his 3-year-old brother warm, but hey, glad Ted Cruz could find the comedy in all of this. Imagine being so depraved that you managed to make going to Cancun during an Arctic blast only the second worst thing you've done in the last 2 weeks. Only Ted Cruz is so slimy, so detached, so out of touch, so shameless that he decided to joke about abandoning the people of his state. In case you were wondering whether there was a shred of remorse, he just made it abundantly clear. But then, he actually has the audacity for his next bit to make fun of AOC, the same congresswoman who flew into Texas while Ted Cruz was flying out, so that she could volunteer for those devastated by the crisis. The same congresswoman who used her social media platform to raise $5 million, all while Ted was busy perusing Expedia for a good deal on vacation spots. Even still, to this day, Ted Cruz failed to use his massive platform to help those in need, opting instead to use it to post some self-serving standard fare photo op picture of him loading a case of water into a car. Honestly, what would Texas have possibly done without Ted Cruz swooping in like a white knight? But even worse, the reason he made fun of AOC was for experiencing trauma related to the Capitol insurrection on January 6th that he validated. Remember, it was Cruz who objected to Arizona's election certification as part of Trump's bigger plan to subvert the election results. By doing so, he was perpetuating Trump's big lie that the election was stolen, which it unequivocally was not. And even though Ted Cruz had no proof, he was doing his part and pandering to Trump's base to pretend that it was, knowing full well the danger that was brewing just outside. And that Trump-inspired mob would breach the Capitol only minutes later, looking to assassinate not only Nancy Pelosi, but even Trump's own Vice President Mike Pence, all helped along by Ted Cruz's willingness to do his part and validate the big lie. And just like his Cancun joke, if you're wondering whether Ted Cruz has any remorse about this disgusting event, he made it quite clear that he doesn't. But hey, why just stop at 2 events where people died that Ted Cruz was firmly on the wrong side of? Because there's also the pandemic. And even though the US has now surpassed 500,000 deaths, making it one of the worst mass casualty events in US history, Ted Cruz took this opportunity to make fun of masks, which have been the single best tool we've had to keep ourselves safe, and which Republicans have seized on as part of some culture war issue, pretending that wearing masks and surviving is akin to allowing some radical leftist government takeover. And so instead of modeling good behavior so that more Americans could survive, they were led to believe that masks were bad, even as tens and hundreds of thousands of Americans continue to die, including, by the way, almost 45,000 people in Cruz's own home state of Texas. But once again, glad he could find the humor in it. At the end of the day, totally worth it for the bit. And by the way, it's people like Cruz who forced the conference host to have to come up on stage and make this statement.
At this CPAC to talk about the Bill of Rights. But I also want to mention one thing, and I know this might sound like a little bit of a downer, but we also believe in property rights, and this is a private hotel. And we believe in the rule of law, so we need to comply with the laws of this county that we're in. But a private hotel, just like your house, gets to set its own rules. Carly, our CPAC director.
Well, as Dan mentioned, we are in a private facility, and we do want to be respectful of the ordinances that they have as their private property. So please, everyone, when you're in the ballroom, when you're seated, you should still be wearing a mask. So if everybody can go ahead, work on that. I know it's not the most fun.
You have the right. You have the right to set the own rules in your own house, and we're borrowing somebody else's house. So we need to comply with their rules. So thank you all for putting on your masks. I wear a mask when I'm in the halls, and we're going to comply with their rules.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good conference.
That these people have to come on stage and nervously tell the crowd to wear their masks, the same way that a flight attendant tells everyone that they have to deplane because of a maintenance issue, is a testament to exactly the damage people like Ted Cruz did and continue to do, including at this very conference. These people have been so brainwashed by this Fox News culture war BS that the Ted Cruzes of the world seize upon that they're barely able to hold events anymore because their attendees can't manage to put the lives of everyone around them in danger. But sure, party of personal responsibility. And look, I know I'm being flippant about Ted Cruz's stupid comedy bits, but the honest-to-God truth is that he truly, fundamentally does not care about people. He is in this for himself. He wants to be a celebrity, he wants to be powerful, and let's face it, he wants to be president. But what he doesn't want is to help people. And so even while the people of his own state were dying and he decided to slither on off to Cancun, that was nothing but a joke to him. Even while the insurrection he helped incite left a police officer and a number of Republican voters dead and left AOC recounting her trauma, that was nothing but a joke to him. Even while the pandemic has killed 500,000 Americans because of a mangled Republican response, that was nothing but a joke to him. Ted Cruz doesn't care if you live or die, he is only concerned with his own political ambitions. He is as shameless as he is dangerous, and his behavior at CPAC is all the proof you need of that. While you're here, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I take a deep dive into the top stories of the week, and I also interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Pete Buttigieg, Katie Porter, Al Franken, Cory Booker, Jamie Harrison, Mary Trump, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.